think a lot of people in my position would try and tell everybody here why they thought their game was a success. You know, all the things that they did that hit the market just right, or they did all the research and they did all the steps, but I'm not going to do that. Anything I say now would be with the benefit of hindsight, and to be totally honest, when I released the game, I had no idea that any of this would have happened. But what I did know when I was making Gorilla Tag is that I knew that it was good. I knew that it put all the things that really touched me about VR, all the things that I had played and done and experienced that really resonated with me. And I took all those things and I compressed them into as small a thing as I could build myself. And that's what Gorilla Tag became. I'm Kerestell Smith. I'm the Chief Creative Officer of another Axiom, and I'm the original creator of Gorilla Tag. So what I'm going to be talking about today, what I'm really going to dig into is kind of that process of trying to figure out what is it about the medium that really spoke to me. What were the things that really worked? What were the things that didn't? And how they've kind of been boiled down for us to what we call our 3 axioms. HandBased locomotion, plausible alternate reality, and social togetherness. How those things kind of build on each other and allow for the kind of experience that you can't get in any other medium. Something that's completely unique to VR, that is so powerful and meaningful that, in my view, the long-term of success of VR is, it's gonna happen sooner or later. Gonna go over the fancy numbers really quick. 12+ million players. We've peaked at 1 million daily actives, 3 million monthly actives. We share these numbers not because we want to, puff up our egos or anything, but it's really just to demonstrate this is the state of the market right now. Like, we don't need to talk about what are things going to be in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. How are things going to look when the hardware is better, when it's smaller and sleeker and more powerful and all these things, right? We've got an opportunity today. The players are playing now. They are hungry for things to do and play and experience. And if you create something that speaks to those players, then they'll show up. There's no problem of what if, I create something amazing and nobody's there to play it. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Well, we know now that you can find success. There is the population there of people who want to play things. So, I was actually never a game developer. I was always just an enthusiast, growing up. I knew I loved playing games, but I didn't know that I wanted to make them. Before all this stuff happened with Gorilla Tag, I was actually a front-end app developer for HR and finance software for enterprise at a company called Workday, it was very exciting. No, I'm really grateful for that position because they had great work-life balance and, I was able to get my work done, but then I had plenty of time for myself and my hobbies. And ever since 2014, VR was my biggest passion. Starting with the DK2 back in 2014, and I went in halfway with my roommate. I still remember the first time, putting it on and looking at that house of cards on the table and going, whoa. And, ever since then, I've just been so engaged in everything that people have been doing. This is a really small list of things, things that, Meta could get the approval to show during a presentation. But there's a whole lot more. And these are things that really spoke to me on different levels. Like, everything that I've played in VR, I've tried to think about, what are the things about this that are really connecting with me? Like, why am I picking up this game over and over to keep experiencing it? Like, why did I play this and I thought it was really awesome, but then I never put the headset and jumped back in again? So throughout my history of building Gorilla Tag, really what I was trying to do is not try and come up with an idea for something radically new that nobody had done before. It was to kind of pick and choose these different aspects of other games that I had seen, things that I really connected with and things that were really meaningful to me. So I'm going to kind of reference a lot of these games and more over the course of what I'm talking about and how I developed kind of this sense of what I wanted to build. So, it's kind of funny. Gorilla Tag actually started as a gesture-based spellcasting game, which is not where it ended up. the idea was, what if there was this magic system behind everything and the players could kind of figure it out and get a sense of it and reach in and touch and grab and move, and that's how you built up the spells and cast them. And the implementation that I ended up with was you kind of wave your hands around, and half the time it worked and half the time it didn't. So it didn't quite land. But then I knew I wanted to have some kind of movement in the game, right? Like, I didn't want to have stick locomotion or teleportation locomotion. And the reason for that is because I had played a lot of stuff using those kinds of locomotion, and they never spoke to me. The experience I would have maybe playing a game like Vader Immortal. You go through the single player section and you're moving around, and then you come on a ladder and you start climbing the ladder. And the moment you grab the ladder and move, it's like, whoa, this is awesome. The most fun part of the game is climbing a ladder, right? Like, why did I feel like that? And to me, it was because of that feeling of that one-to-one movement with my hand and my body. You reach out and you pull and your head moves up. It's no longer this, I'm going to use a joystick to command my avatar. It is, I'm going to move my body and see the movements reflected in the world. So I knew I wanted to have some kind of hand-based movement. And I had played a lot of Echo Arena. That was kind of like one of my North Stars in terms of building VR games, is that I wanted to make an experience that would give me the same kind of feeling I had when I played Echo. And that game is a 0G sports game, 3v3, eventually became 4v4 for balance reasons. But the feeling of that game is that you're in zero gravity. And when you're in zero gravity, you push off of something and you float away from the surface. And that felt incredible. And I wanted to kind of adapt something similar, but with gravity. And what ended up landing on is this system of walking on your hands. And I still remember the first moment that I got it working, and it just felt so cool. You walk on your hands. I also took a bit of inspiration from a game called Raccoon Lagoon. In that game, you are a little guy collecting resources and helping out little furry animal friends. And the way that game worked is you chop down a tree, and then you chop the tree into logs, and you pick up the logs. But everybody knows about the problem in VR where something's on the ground. You have to crouch down and pick it up, and then you have to crouch down again, and you have to pick it up. Eventually, you don't want to crouch down and pick things up over and over. So what they did is they just said, hey, if you need to interact with the floor all the time, we'll just put you at the floor. And all of a sudden, your torso is cut off, and you're just right at ground level. And I remember being skeptical when I jumped into that game, but then the first moment that you reach out and you just grab something and it feels completely natural, that was like, oh, you don't need the legs. I was wrong about this. So with the hand-based locomotion, with walking on your hands, that was something that really clicked for me. And that's really our first axiom, which is the hand-based locomotion. So this isn't something that is only interesting. There are a lot of deeper implications to this kind of decision. If you think back to your first experience playing something like Toy Box, you've got the table out there, you've got all the objects set up, you reach out, you pick up a toy, you see someone, you wave at them, it was a very powerful first VR experience to have. You reach out and you pick something up. And then you put it down, and maybe your hand reaches too far and it goes through the table. And all of a sudden, that experience of having this direct relationship to the environment, this actual place, is kind of shattered because your hand goes through the table. It's the same problem back when the Wii came out, and everybody was super excited for the motion controllers, right? Like, I'm going to swing my arm, it's going to be like a sword. And then the first time you swing your sword and your arm goes through the air and the sword gets blocked, there's that disconnect and the illusion is shattered. Oh, I'm not controlling the sword. I'm swinging my arm, and it's pressing a button in the game, and the character's swinging just like any other game. But with hand-based movement, that's not what happens. You reach out and you touch the table, and your hand goes through it, but instead your hand stops, and you get pushed back. It is not an experience where I am trying to influence the world, and the world has no influence on me, but it is I try to influence the world, I push on it, and the world pushes back. All of a sudden, I'm a part of this actual place. I can't violate the the geometry that's there, because all of a sudden, it's going to push back on me if I try and go through it. That's what makes it real. That's what gives you that experience of being there and being a part of things. And that kind of thinking of like, how do you kind of form this direct relationship with everything kind of goes deeper. Like the gorilla has no legs because you don't have control input for the legs. The gorillas have 3 fingers because you need your pinky and your ring finger to hold the controller. So you press the grab button, your middle finger moves. You press the trigger, your index finger moves. You press the face buttons and your thumb moves. It's the same kind of sense of I am embodying this character that is really present in the world and not something where I am just commanding an avatar to move. So this is really like a really key part of everything. You've got the movement based on your hand motions, something that is surprisingly even less motion sickness inducing than something like stick locomotion, which in a lot of ways has kind of become a standard for VR. It's a lot more interactive than something like teleport because your character doesn't phase out of existence in between those positions. You actually move through the space. And it's something that you can feel in your body. You reach out and you touch the floor and you feel the haptics. You move your hand down and your head goes up. You react. It's something that places you in the world so much more than any other medium. And it's something so unique to VR that we really truly believe this is the kind of thing that is so critical to building a part of it. But movement, you know, it's not the only thing, right? Like when I was first building Gorilla Tag, I actually sat on the movement for a few months because I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to build with it. I was thinking maybe some kind of like getting over it style game where you're climbing this mountain or something and it's really easy to fall down, but it didn't really click for me. But something that I started thinking about more is this idea of playing tag. And tag is not the most complicated game, but there's something about it that is really primal, right? Like everybody remembers playing tag as a kid. And you see basically every mammal play it, right? Like I love watching squirrels. I don't know if that's weird, but sometimes you'll just see them run after each other for no reason, right? It's just, it's something that feels very deeply ingrained. So I had the idea to throw tag into things and everything really kind of clicked. You could see someone else and the feeling you got is like, oh my God, I have to run away from them. They're gonna get me. And it was that feeling that was very true to the same experience that you have in real life when you play tag. So now I knew that I had this larger world that I wanted to place people in so that they could interact with others, but it's not enough to just say, hey, here's the game that I want to build. It is, what is the feeling the person is gonna have when they want to jump into this experience? And this feeling that we want people to have is that the world is this plausible alternate reality. What could things be like if the rules were just a little bit different? It doesn't need to be realistic to how our actual real life is, but it does need to be realistic and internally consistent compared to that own world. And there are a lot of implications to this. This is something that I think is really interesting when you think about the history of VR as well. I feel like a lot of people had an experience when they first tried on the headset, is whether it was Richie's plank experience or just kind of a demo, where you're standing at the edge of a cliff and you put the headset on and in your brain it's telling you, if I take a step, I'm going to die. Not like in a my character is going to die sense, but somehow your brain was hijacked and you were seriously concerned that if you took a step you would fall. And this generated a lot of hype in VR at the time. People talked about the idea of presence all the time because it was this really incredible, powerful feeling, right? Like people were talking about VR as if it was this thing where you could be literally transported anywhere. It would trick your brain into thinking you were literally there, which is incredible, right? Like if that's how it worked, like I think everybody would be in VR all the time by now. But that isn't how it actually worked, right? Like it turned out that was kind of an artifact of your brain adapting to that scenario. And you put on the headset a few times and for the first few weeks your hands look kind of weird. But then eventually you adapt to it and then putting the headset on just feels kind of normal. And I think that there was a little bit of a pullback. People saw that as a red herring and all of a sudden it wasn't about, okay, well, if I don't think I'm literally there, then we should focus on shoring up some of the weaknesses of this experience, right? It's this The headset is kind of heavy. It's a little bit uncomfortable. You have to make sure it's charged. You know, you have to move your hands a lot, and that makes you kind of tired. So let's focus on experiences that kind of pull back a little bit. Make it a little bit more comfortable. Make it a little bit more easy to interact with things. You know, we'll have more laser pointer interfaces. We'll bring up more menus. And I think that kind of like really denigrated the experience a lot. Not because we were missing out on presence, but we were missing out on this feeling of visiting another world. I'll bring up Raccoon Lagoon again. The way that game worked is that every so often they had to reset the state of the world. You know, they had to bring the trees back, they had to bring the rocks back and the fish back. And the way they handled that is they had this transition where it would start to rain. So after you're playing for a little bit, you know, the clouds kind of roll in and you hear the rumble of thunder, and then after a few minutes, the rain starts gently falling and you hear it splashing all around you. And I swear, I had been playing VR for years at that point, and it felt like I could smell the rain. Like, that experience was very powerful to me because it places you in that world. I didn't think I was literally there, but I felt like I was there. That emotional experience was really powerful, and it placed me in that environment. And that was a very similar thing that happened with Echo Arena, right? Like, as you're playing that game, you know, if you're trying to, you press the terminal button and you say, you know, match make me, and you're waiting for a few minutes for your round to start, but you're just in this space, and you kind of float around, and maybe you throw a disc around, and maybe you throw darts or something. It contributed to that feeling of, it's not just a game that I'm playing, but this is a world that I'm a part of. And this is something that we tried very, very deeply to implement in Gorilla Tag. Very early on, I had an experience where I was playing with some other people, and because there were so few people playing at the time, this was, you know, before it was even on SideQuest or anything, it was just in a Discord server I was sharing with some people. I want to say we had about 8 to 10 people on, and we wanted to change to a different map. And so we were in this one map, and we ran over, and we go through the loading zone into this lobby area, and then you jump in, and you see other people there too, and then you jump into the next area. And it was like, wow, the experience we had wasn't, I'm going to load this different area. It was just, I'm going to travel to this other spot. It feels like you're a part of this world. It feels like the other people around you are in this actual space. It feels like when I take the headset off, I've just left somewhere. And that's another really powerful experience that's only possible in VR. You know, people talk about immersion in other contexts, and VR as well. This feeling that you're a part of this world and you lose yourself in it. But if you're talking about a flat screen game, what you really mean is, I don't have to think too hard about the control inputs I need to do to execute on what I'm trying to do. You know, I don't have to think about what button to press to open the inventory, et cetera, et cetera. You don't feel like you're actually there. You don't feel like you could smell the forest or feel the sun on your face. In VR, if you build it close enough, you really can. And that also has a lot of other interesting implications. Like, after Gorilla Tag had been released for a little while, I wanted to add this day-night cycle and this weather cycle. And what I noticed in the process of building that is that I think everybody has kind of experienced the problem of you put the headset on, you play for a while, you take it off, and all of a sudden it's night, right? Like, it's a similar thing when you go in the movie theater and it's day, you watch I don't know how long movies are now, like 5 hours, 6 hours, and you leave and it's suddenly dark, and you've lost all this sense of the progression of time. And I noticed I was getting the same thing in Gorilla Tag. You jump in, it's sunny, you jump off, it's sunny, and then in real life it's not. But after I added the day-night cycle, there was this feeling of, as you're playing, the day is turning into evening, is turning into night, is turning into sunrise. It feels like there's something going on. And this world exists independent of you. So you take the headset off and it's day, and you put it back on and it's night. The world exists outside of you. And now, when you're not part of that world, it feels like you're missing out on something. It feels like there's something interesting going on in this space that is outside of just me. And those kinds of experiences are also really interesting to build gameplay from. We had a few experiences where you touch a surface and a little sound plays based on what type of surface you're hitting, and that was really cool. And then it makes me think, okay, well, we added this cave map with all these crystals, and maybe if you touch a crystal, it plays a note. And now we can have different crystals with different notes. Just based on that, all of a sudden you can start playing music based on what you're running on. We have this song that plays in the cave called Cave Wave, and we play one track with the bass and one track with the rhythm, and based on where you are in the map, if you go into the mines, it's deeper and darker, and you feel the beat, and if you go up into the caves, you hear the melody and the rhythm. There are all these things that come naturally from building the world, from building it as a place the player feels that connection to. And that is so special, and that is so unique to VR, that when I think back to my favorite experiences, those are the things that really connected me to them. And then as these things kind of build on each other, right, you have the hand-based movement that connects you directly to the environment you're a part of. You have this plausible alternate reality, this other space, this other world that could be. And then when you put other people there together with you, this kind of creates this experience that you can't get anywhere else, right? Like we're here at MetaConnect, and we're in this room full of people, and after this talk is done, people are gonna shuffle out into the hallway, and people are gonna respond and see different people, and all these different like small little things, right? You get kind of hungry and you decide to go to the kitchen and you run into somebody that you hadn't seen before. You go outside and you see some people playing a demo you're interested in and you strike up a conversation with the person next to you. Those are the kinds of things that make this kind of experience valuable, despite the logistical efforts involved, despite the amount of travel you have to do, the expense of hotels and flights, the impact to your schedules and your regular lives. Those are things that are still worth it, because of the connection that you can get. And in VR, when you feel like there's a world, you feel a direct connection to it. You feel this sense of place, and then other people are there with you too. I'm not sure exactly that I need to tell everybody in this room how powerful that is, but for me, this is the thing that kind of made everything click. I'm going to talk about Echo Arena a little more. Whenever I play games, I'm much more of an introvert. You know, if I'm playing Counter-Strike or Overwatch or something, you know, I click ranked, I wait until the game starts, I play the match, I quit, I join the next one. I'm really focused on playing the game itself. And my intention when I was playing Echo Arena was the same thing. I thought it was this really cool game, I was getting really good at it, I thought I was, you know, super cool. And I wanted to engage in that same way. I wanted to play, I wanted to go to my next match, and that's it. But the structure of the game and the way the lobby is set up and your experience of hopping in there and being a part of this world, despite myself, I ended up talking to people. I ended up seeing other people in the lobby. I had these interactions with the other players during the game, and then you'd quit out, or the game would end, and you'd go back to the lobby, and you'd see the people that you just played with, and you talk about the game that you just had, and then you all run to the terminal, and you press Q together at the same time to try and get into the next match together. I ended up joining a team, I ended up competing in the esports for that game, and my team actually ended up winning the first 2 world championships for Echo Arena. That's one of those glory days thing, right? Like, and I ended up forming some real lifelong relationships from that. Something I didn't want. If it was up to me, I would have chosen to talk to nobody. But that is so powerful, and the way it was built was so conducive to forming those relationships that are very powerful, that are very nourishing, that are very real, second only to what you could get in real life. And that, to me, is the real power of the technology, right? We're not talking about something that can send you to outer space or put you into time in history or all these other really cool things, right? And those are absolutely amazing. But you can watch a movie, you can read a book, you can, you know, do all these other kinds of things to get a similar sense of those experiences. But VR is the only thing that can make you feel like you're talking to another person, that you're present with them in the same space, that you're actually like part of the same world together. The only other thing that can do that is meeting other people in real life. And to me, that's the power of the technology. That's the thing that VR can do that nothing else can. So kind of when you have these three things, you have the hand-based movement that connects you directly to the world. When you have the plausible alternate reality, this place that feels like a place, that doesn't ask you to suspend your disbelief, that doesn't require you to navigate through menus and abstractions and hierarchies of how the computer works and so on. When other people are in that place with you and you can have real true experiences and feel like you're really directly connected with people in those spaces. Those are the three things that I really believe build on each other and allow for experiences that you can't get anywhere else. So in order to achieve those things, I did the best I could. There are certain parts of the game that kind of don't work. And these aren't mistakes, they were compromises that I had to make in order to build it. Like you see this character goes into another level and they disappear. They've joined a different lobby. And now you've kind of created this space that almost feels dangerous because you know that if you get too close, you're gonna lose your connection to your friends. You're gonna jump into a different server, or if someone else is there, they're gonna leave you. And this happened for a variety of reasons. I was only able to handle performance for so many characters at the same time. The networking stack was only able to support so many people connected to one place at a time. Unfortunately, you have to pay for bandwidth for servers, which is expensive. So this is something that really harms the experience. It's something that as you're playing, you get the sense of grunginess, of the feeling that, like, why is this hallway all of a sudden feel bad to be in? Like, what is this thing, what is this negative energy coming from? And it's from the parts that intrude on the experience. It's from the parts that sever your connection to other players, that feel abstract and arbitrary and like something just isn't working right. So part of what I'm really excited by in the reaction to Gorilla Tag is that now we've got a larger team behind us and we have access to more resources. Now we have the ability to kind of like identify what were the technological limitations we had at the time and how do we push forward in a way that kind of like supports these axioms, that allows us to push things forward. So a few weeks ago, we announced the name of our new game, Orion Drift, which is Thank you. Dude, I can't believe the spectacles are called Orions. Like, come on. But what we're trying to do here is we're really trying to push forward on the things that we weren't able to achieve with Gorilla Tag. Not through lack of understanding or effort, but just limitations. And the biggest swing we're taking with this game is we want to create these stations with 200 people on them. And our goal with 200 people is not just because we want a pile of 200 people all yelling and screaming and climbing all over each other, right? It's to enable the feeling of being present in a space with other people. Like I've talked about how we're here at a convention right now, and I want that same feeling. I want to be running through the station and I want to see somebody that I haven't seen in a few weeks. And I want to show up and I want to wave to them and talk to them about what's going on. I want them to introduce me to their other friend who's coming by. And I want them to say, hey, there's this game going on across the station. Let's travel there together. And everybody goes through at the same time. Not needing to think about, hey, are we in the right group? Do we have our friends invited? Like, do I have to disconnect from this server? Do I have to load this different area? No, I want that natural experience of being in the same place as everybody else. So the way that we're trying to do that is through a lot of hard work, to be honest. But the experience of being in a place with other people, you're playing a match, but you see the spectators who are watching you. You can actually hear the arena next to you screaming when they score at the same time. You feel like you're a part of this larger community. You see people across the space traveling from one space to the next, and it makes you want to check out what they're doing. This allows you to feel like you're a part of a larger community instead of just interacting with the people in front of me. The experience we want people to have is not, wow, this is a fun game. It is, this is the community of people that I want to be a part of. These are the people that I want to form these relationships with. This is the space that I want to exist in. So as we're building this, we're really trying to do it with our community. We want this to be something where we're trying to understand, using the exact same process we went through before. What are the things we're connecting with about the experience? What are the things that we're not? What are the things that we really need to push harder on? And what are the surprises that we didn't expect? We want to be paying very close attention to those small experiences, those little things that make a big difference. Like, I'll quickly talk about one internal test we ran where we had like kind of this tournament going on. And to be honest, I don't remember the results of the tournament except that we lost. I remember when our third member wasn't showing up and we started running through the station calling his name. We asked people if they had seen them. There's a little spectator bot flying around and I was waving it down, asking it, hey, find this person and come back to me and take me to them, right? Those kinds of experiences are the things that you're not going to find that in like the design spec for the match, right? Like, this isn't something that you tweak the values on to make it the most fun. This isn't ranked MMR. This isn't, you know, it's none of those things. It feels like a true human experience. And those are the things that we think are going to be most valuable to people. And those are the things that we want to push the hardest on. So kind of, you know, when I think about my history with VR and kind of where I am now, I still kind of feel the same in some ways. Like, most of the time I don't really feel like a game developer. I just feel like I'm an enthusiast. I'm just always super psyched to be a part of things and see what people are building and what's going on and what's being built. But at the same time, I feel like people have done so much hard work. There's so much out there. There's so much to learn from and experience and build upon. And the things that I'm most excited about are people's ability to see what has come before us and build on that even stronger. People talk about VR as if it's a young industry, and honestly, it's not. It's been mainstream for almost 10 years now, and people have been doing work with it for decades before then. We're not at a stage where people can just try anything and hope it works. You can build something and have a pretty good idea of whether or not what you're building is going to be a good fit for the medium, whether this is going to be something that is going to be a strong thing for people to experience. And now, the reason I'm so excited about VR is because we're past that ideation stage, right? There's still going to be things coming out of left field, but I don't feel like we need to be in this state of imagine what things will be like in 5 or 10 years. I'm excited about what's being built now. I'm excited about the sight lines that I feel like we have into what the future is going to be, not in some kind of hand-wavy, ephemeral way, but looking at what we have today and how it could be better tomorrow. So I'm really excited about VR because of the things that I've seen that it can do. I'm excited about other technologies for different reasons, right? Like, I'm excited about what AR could be in 5 or 10 years. I'm excited about what AI might enable us to do in 5 or 10 years. But VR provides something today that no other technology can. It provides you the ability to connect with people across space. It is the most social and connecting technology, in my opinion, that's ever been built. And as far as I'm concerned, the value of connecting with other people like that is so incredibly high that I don't see any way VR can fail. We're past the point where there's an opportunity for things to kind of fall apart. Like, the headsets are in people's hands today. People have experienced these things today. And the value that people are getting out of it is so important that it feels inevitable to me. And I'm just very grateful that I feel like I can be a part of it right now. And I've always said that I kind of don't have a great imagination. You know, I've really got to feel it to believe it. But I've felt it, and that's why I'm just so excited about this stuff all the time. Like, I feel like half the time I don't really want to think about what I'm going to say before I say it, just because I'm so jazzed and excited to get up and see everybody who are just as excited about these things as I am. So thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate, you know, the passion that I'm seeing in the room from the other people who are building these things, and I'm really excited to see what everybody's going to keep making. And thanks for everybody for coming here.